Okay.
It's time for the Baseball Talk Radio Show, everyone. Welcome back to the near playoff edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Hello and welcome to the Baseball Talk Radio Show, everyone. My name is Rich.
And I'm Gary.
And Gary, we took a little hiatus from the show. We've had our medical issues going back and forth and just took some time off in general, but it's great to be back on the show talking baseball.
It certainly is, Rich, and it's good to see you looking so hale and hearty. And we're back, and you know, Rich, we've only got a week left in the baseball season, the regular season. Hard to believe that it's coming to an end. Where did this summer go, Rich?
Yeah, it just seemed to drift away very fast. The month of September went by like a dream, basically, and now all of a sudden we're here about a week and a half, about 9 games left for some teams. We're already talking playoffs, and it looks like it's going to be very interesting. Even the teams that are out of it, they're already plotting their 2018 moves, certain teams, that is, and all of a sudden it's interesting on that end as well.
Well, especially our teams, Rich. We're plotting our 2018 moves as it's been a disappointing season for both the Phillies and the New York Mets, but hope springs eternal, and both teams are going to be around next year, and hopefully they'll make a better run of it. And Rich, before we go on, I just wanted to say congratulations to the Hudson Valley Renegades. You know, I'm a big New York Penn League fan, and that season ended about a week and a half ago or so. And I just wanted to say congratulations to the Renegades, who took the New York Penn League title with a one-hitter. They beat the Vermont Lake Monsters. They swept them, won the first 2 to 3 games, and took home the title. And just a special congratulations go out to them. I enjoy going up there to see the games in Hudson Valley, and though my Cyclones didn't do as well this year, it was good to see a team that I'm interested in nearby win a title. So congratulations to the Renegades.
Very good there. And, of course, as you just said, the Cyclones ended the season in last place, 24-52 on the year. But, those lower MILB type of leagues, the guys are just getting into the league for their first year in many instances, or, year and a half or so into baseball. So they're getting their feet wet. Staten Island Yankees captured the crown there in the New York Penn League, the McNamara division, but I'm sure a good time was had by all.
Yes, without a doubt. And, the short season, as you say, it's very exciting because you see a lot of players for the first time. If they draft colleges, they tend to send them to the Penn League team. So pretty exciting to see a guy at that level. And then hopefully in a few years, you see him at the major league level, and you see, how they've progressed over the years. So very interesting, and that's why I like it so much. And the prices are more reasonable, but the season's so darn short that it's just sometimes it's impossible to get to a game.
Yeah, they have a shortened season. What about 70 or so games?
78, I think it is, they play.
So, yeah, it's not quite as long as the major leagues. And, of course, I did catch a game in the last couple days. The L.A. Dodgers came to town, to Philadelphia, and the Phillies actually beat them 3 out of 4 games. So it was really good to see the young group that's been assembled by the Phillies start to gel a little bit. They did call up a few of their minor league players, in the past 5 to 6 weeks. And hey, they have a guy named Reese Hoskins. I think he just hit his 45th RBI the other game after only being called up August 10th, Gary, if you can believe that.
Yeah, Hoskins looks pretty good. It looks like the real deal. First baseman, outfielder, but I think he's more of a first baseman. And he's going to be a nice piece to start building around. And like you said, I think the Phillies have some couple of good young players that they can build on. So should be interesting to see how they are next season, the Phillies, as things go on. And it's all about the pitching, though, Rich. They got to get some young pitchers in, and of course the Mets will be closing out the season with the Phillies. So be interesting comparison to see for 2018.
Yes, it will. And I'm just looking over Hoskins' stats right now. He's only had 148 at bats so far prior to today's games, 18 home runs and 46 RBIs. So if you were to project out over a season, you might have a superstar in the making if he can continue this next year in 2018. I think he's got a lot of the people mesmerized right now and wondering if he's really going to be able to continue this next season.
Well, I think he should. I mean, he looks like a good, solid player, and you'll see. He might have a little bit of a downturn. That happens, with these young guys, Rich. The pitchers catch up to them, and then they have to make the adjustment back. And but if they're smart and they're good, they'll make that adjustment. It happened with Michael Conforto. He actually got sent down last season, but popped back this year and unfortunately suffered a very bad injury. And we may not have him in the beginning of the year next year, but it's the way the game goes. It's a game of adjustments, Rich, and I'm sure that he'll be able to make those and continue on.
Absolutely. So let's get back to the postseason picture. I have something loaded on my computer screen here. Whereas if the season ended today, and of course we're taping this show on September 24th, 2017, and Gary, if the season ended right now in the National League, the Cubs would be the number 3 seed. They'd be playing the Nationals, and the LA Dodgers would be your number 1 seed, and they would play a playoff against either the Rockies or the Arizona Diamondbacks. So that would be an interesting series. I would love to see the Cubs take on the Nationals. And a lot of people fear that the Dodgers are going to have to play the Diamondbacks. I was talking to somebody at the stadium just the other day, and they kind of fear the Diamondbacks for some reason out there.
Yeah, it seems as if the Diamondbacks have Dodgers' number this year. They played them well. They played them tough all season, and that could be an interesting series coming off. Of course, we don't even know who Arizona. It looks like they've got the wild card, the first wild card. The second wild card could be Colorado, could be Milwaukee. Milwaukee's only like a game behind the Rockies right now, and I believe they won today, or they were playing the Cubbies, and the Cubbies are slipping a little bit now too, but they might have had a big enough cushion, 4.5 back for Milwaukee. We still got some dog fights going on with a week left in the season now. Of course, Washington and LA have clinched their division in the National League, and Cleveland and Houston have clinched their division in the American League. So we're still watching the American League East and the National League Central. And of course, the wild card races are still not set in stone. Though in the American League, the Yankees have clinched the playoff spot. So they're assured of at least a wild card, as has the Red Sox. But who goes into that game? We do not know. Minnesota has a decent enough lead in the wild card. It looks like they're going to be the other wild card team.
All right. Are you going to come in?
Look, we don't know quite yet who's who,
What's
but
that?
should be very interesting, Rich, as we
All right,
come
I'll open the door.
into the season, so the end of the season, I should say.
All right, we'll come in. Very cool. And of course, out in the American League East, we have, as you said, the Yankees are the number 4 seed. They're a wild card contender. Boston is in. They'll be playing Houston if the season ended today, according to my list here. And the number 1 seed, of course, is the Indians, and they'll take on a wild card team matchup as of today, it says, of either the Yankees or the Twins. So very interesting to see how this will shake out and see who makes it into the playoffs from the wild cards. But looks like it's going to be a fun playoff season.
It does, Rich. There's going to be some good matchups, I think. If Boston wins the NL East, then it will be Boston against, of course, the Cleveland. I'm sorry, the Houston Astros, and that'll be a good series. And taking a look at the wild card, if the Yankees can beat the Minnesota Twins, they'll go against the Cleveland Indians. And I don't know if anybody would want to play Cleveland right now. Cleveland's been really hot and playing good ball, so we don't know how that's going to turn out. But Cleveland and the Yankees, it could be if they win the wild card and the wild card game, which is also a question mark. I don't know if Minnesota's not in the same league as the Yankees. Really, Minnesota's, not that good a team. They played the Yankees last weekend, and I think they lost 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3. But Boston and Houston should be a good series, though. And then, of course, in the National League, as you said, if it ended, looks like Washington would play the Cubs, and the Dodgers would play the winner of the wild card, which could be Arizona. So some interesting series to come, Rich. And there's a lot of teams that you can say really could win this year, more so than in the last few years. So a lot of high 90-win teams this year, and teams that have dominated some of their divisions. So we'll have to see where that all takes us.
Yeah, and of course, as you said, the Cleveland Indians with that historic 22-game winning streak this year. I don't think I've heard of many teams with that long of a winning streak in years, actually. It's kind of tough to win 22 games in a row. They definitely seem like they have momentum on their side for some reason here as we're heading into the last 10, 12 days of the season.
Yeah, most certainly, and you just hope that they don't lose some of that momentum. But they've got good management there. They've got some good young players. They've got some good pitching. So I think they'll be all right going into the playoffs.
And of course, the other big story in baseball over the last week is the home run races, both in the American League and the National League. With Aaron Judge hitting his 48th home run of the season. He's only one shy of the rookie mark, and you've got some great home run races going on all of a sudden. It's almost like Sosa and McGuire again.
Yeah, and the big question, of course, will Stanton hit 60 or 61 or whatever? Can he make that? I haven't seen his latest numbers. But he's been having a big year, Mike Stanton. Listen to me, Giancarlo Stanton, and of course, as you said, Aaron Judge with the home run record, the rookie record, and they broken historical record for most home runs in the season already. So, and there's been different speculation about that, Rich. Is it the ball? Is it the bats? I've actually heard somebody say. I don't know what it is, but there's an awful lot of home runs going out, and I don't think it's PEDs, but
Who knows?
I think the ball is juiced though, because the way the ball is going out, it looks like they juiced up the ball.
And of course, Stanton only still 27 years of age, and Aaron Judge even younger than that. So we have some young guys that are fueling the home run races. I don't think they're necessarily related to any steroids. Thinking these guys are just, pure power hitters, and they're facing pitchers that are throwing real hard stuff. So they obviously have a good eye on the baseball, and we can call him Mike Stanton. He used to be called that.
Yeah. Originally his first year he was Michael Stanton, then went for Giancarlo, which I guess is his given name. So, what the heck?
So a lot of great things to talk about in the MLB. But why don't we just take a pause in the show for just a moment? We'll hear a quick commercial break. And I want to thank everyone that wrote us. A couple of our longtime listeners was inquiring about the show, making sure we were okay. So thanks for the shout out for that. And we'll be back after this message. We'd love to hear your comments. Please send your emails to talk@mlbthisweek.com. You can reach Gary at baseballtalkradio.com or me, Rich at baseballtalkradio.com. We'd love to hear your comments, so send them in. Subscribe to the Baseball Talk Radio Show on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, or Podomatic.com. This way you'll never miss an episode. Gary, I think I'm going to go over to baseballtalkradio.com and listen to all the baseball talk shows there. Do you think I can cram it all in on a weekend?
No, I don't think so. It's going to take you quite some time, but there's a little bit of everything there. Cover most of the teams and Japanese baseball, fantasy baseball, all there at baseballtalkradio.com, the home of great baseball talk shows. And go check it out. It's a great place. And if you'd like to help us out a little bit, you can go to patreon.com, become a sponsor of the show. Help us out. $2 a month, $1 a month, anything you can give it all would be gratefully appreciated and help us do more of this kind of thing, the video, and expand our capabilities and maybe some on-the-road surprises in the summertime. So that's patreon.com/baseball talk. Give whatever you can. We greatly appreciate it. This is the time of the year, the spirit of giving is strong with everyone. So please go and help us out.
You're listening to BaseballPodcasts.net.
Wouldn't it be great if you PhD in life through baseball? Welcome to Baseball PhD, a tour company for your brain. 30 major league teams, 100 places to see. Let's touch them all as we make the road trip of a lifetime.
And we're back talking baseball here on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. And Gary, before we went into the break, we were talking a little bit about home runs. But here's a player that's been a home run hitter for a while, last year's MVP, Mr. Harper, coming back to the Nationals, possibly on Monday. That's probably good news for National fans.
Yeah, it is, Rich. He's been playing some simulated games. He hurt his knee, I think it was, on a slippery base that they, running the first base, his foot slipped and twisted it awkwardly. It looked terrible at the time, but it was a deep bone bruise. And, they need him back for the playoffs. I mean, they just took 2 out of 3 against the Mets. I don't know if that's a big task the way the Mets have played this year, but he'll be back, and that could help that team turn the corner. I don't know. I still have my doubts about the Nationals. Just when you think they're going to dominate, I don't know. Something goes wrong for them, and they haven't had a lot of luck all in the playoffs. So we'll see. Maybe this could be their year.
That's for sure. And we'll get to see, as Phillies fans, we'll get to see probably Bryce Harper as well. The Nationals come into town for a 3-game series, I believe, coming up this week. So we might get to see Bryce Harper firsthand in his first few games back with the Washington Nationals. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he can get back into the swing of things after being off for practically 6 weeks, healing up from that terrible injury. He had a hyperextended left knee. So, and as you said, Gary, bone bruise and strained calf. So, yeah, it looked pretty bad there for him, and we'll have to see if he can get back and get healthy for the Nationals.
Yeah, it really did, Rich. When it occurred, it looked like, surgery out for the season and the whole thing. But luckily, he didn't tear anything and is able to make it back. And as I said, that should help the Nationals in their run. He's an important guy. He's a terrific player. Shame is he's having a really terrific year, heading towards the possibility of being an MVP candidate. And it all, kind of evaporated from there. But this is what you play for now, and the big thing is to get the rust off and get used to seeing pitching and get back into it by the time the playoffs begin.
That's for sure. And just a little note here, a side note for fans that don't think Phillies fans are good fans. And these kind of stories don't make the news. They don't make ESPN, Gary. But a few games ago when the Phillies were playing the Dodgers, one of the Phillies pitchers hit third baseman Justin Turner by accident. But Turner required some attention from the trainer for a few minutes. And when he was back on the field and he trotted over to first, Phillies fans gave him a big ovation. So you're not going to see that on ESPN. You're not going to see it on the highlight reels. But just know that Phillies fans aren't as bad as people portray them to be.
Yeah, that's, a lot of that stuff gets overhyped. And the Phillies fans, a lot of that goes back to the whole booing Santa Claus and all of that thing back in 100 years ago. So, but people remember that, and that's what they want to remember.
So, you have a top story here that you had picked out for this show?
Well, Rich, before we talked a little bit about 2018 and the team's getting ready. Well, Major League Baseball's getting ready, and they're going to open up next year, the earliest that they've ever opened up in the history of the game. That is going to be Thursday, March 29th. They're going to be opening, and it will feature the first full slate of opening day games in 50 years, and the earliest beginning date, as I said, at any traditional Major League ballpark. So, it's going to be pretty. It's going to be cold. It may be, and it released its tentative schedule a couple weeks ago. I think it was MLB, and the unique opening day rollout will be among many key new features, along with a single marquee game. That'll be the Cardinals and Cubs coming out of the All-Star break. and expanded 3 to 4 additional off days for each team, and the MLB's first Midsummer Classic in Washington, D.C. in nearly a half century. So that's what we're going to have to see next year coming up. And that should be pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, the end of March, as you said, probably still pretty chilly in most parts of the country, from the Midwest to even the East and sometimes the West Coast, for example. But yeah, we could remember many end of Marches, I'm sure, that requires a heavy jacket.
Yeah, and look, I went to a game in May and froze at the City Field, so a night game, so it can get pretty chilly. But they want to, the last game of the season next year will be on September 30th. So that's going to assure, I guess, that the World Series is in October and doesn't creep over into November like it has a few years.
That's awesome news there. And of course, as baseball becomes more popular around the United States, Major League Baseball isn't resting on its laurels there. They're going after fans from around the world. And in 2018, there will be a game and a series, actually, between the Cleveland Indians and the Minnesota Twins in Puerto Rico's Hiram Bithorn Stadium between April 17th and April 18th. So it's going to be a 2-game series. That was announced some time ago. So it's going to be interesting to see the Indians and the Twins play this coming April for 2018. And there's also possibly an Asian game to be announced either in 2018 or sometime in Japan in 2019. However, that hasn't been officially announced yet. And so MLB is, trying to get this game recognized more around the world. Even in London, Gary, there's a rumor of a single series game going to be held possibly in 2019. So a lot of events planned around that over in England. A lot of fans are being created there over in England with the Major League Baseball.
Yeah, most certainly, Rich. And the only thing they're going to have to check now, the Puerto Rican games, they may have to see whether that can be played due to the hurricane and the devastation of Hurricane Irma on Puerto Rico. There is those that say they're not even going to get any power back for 4 to 6 months. So whether or not they're going to have problems with that game is going to be something else to look into at this point in time. But they do have a period of time, so I'm sure that they'll figure something out by then.
Yes, indeed. So always changing and upgrading is the game of baseball. That's why we love it so much, of course, and we do this podcast for you. And as we said during the commercial there, if you like the show, head on over to our Patreon page over at patreon.com/MLB This Week. You can sponsor our show for just $1 or $2, $3 a month, whatever you want to donate to the show, and Gary and I pledge to put it back right into the show. It'll give us the wherewithal to do some better things for you, the listener. So if you're listening to this podcast, we appreciate the support. We don't have the backing of sponsors. Some shows do have sponsors and things like that. They can go places and do things and buy tickets, and we can get those inside stories for you. So if you do like the podcast, I encourage you to check out the Patreon page over at patreon.com/MLB This Week.
And yeah, I hope everybody will do that. And Rich, the next time we talk, the season will be almost over.
Yeah, it's almost hard to believe. When I heard it just a week ago or so, and actually, I think I gave the wrong Patreon page. Our Patreon page is patreon.com. And I forgot to, believe it or not, I'm going to have to re-listen to the commercial, Gary. But anyway, just go over to our Patreon page, please. Don't use the MLB this week.
And just search for it. You'll find it. I think it's Baseball Talk.
Yeah, I believe it's Baseball Talk now. Of course, we used to call the show MLB This Week, but I'm so used to saying that from our previous bunch of shows, which we probably did about 75 or so before we changed the name. But yeah, it's just, we need some sponsorship. So if you like our show, throw in $1 or $2 a month for us. It's like a coffee a month. I think they can. I think somebody out there can pony that up.
Well, I certainly hope so. It would be very helpful to us, and we're here trying to just do our best.
And people don't realize this isn't free. We have to pay for certain things that go along with this show. We talk for free, but Gary invests. If you watch the video show, you can look behind him. He's got a ton of equipment. I do. And everybody wants something for nothing, but we appreciate your sponsorship. Please.
And, let's hope that message gets out there, Rich.
I'm begging, practically begging with a cup here. Jingling a cup for change outside.
So I guess, Rich, next week we'll be talking about our picks and see. I think we wrote down our picks from early in the year so we can see how close we are, if at all, and we'll make our revised pick.
Yes, we will. Well, Gary, it's been a great show. I'm glad you're healthy. I'm healthy. We're back doing the show and can't wait till next week, and really can't wait for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's for sure. And they'll be here before we know it.
Yes, indeed. Well, thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio, everyone. We'll talk to you on the next edition.